Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished audiences. Thank you for joining us for this special event of the 2021 Oakville Film Festival and OFFA 2021. My name is Tyler Collins. I am your host and moderator for this event and the arts reporter for Oakville News and oakvillenews.org. You can read us online for free every morning at oakvillenews.org. We are so excited you are joining us today for day 5 of the festival. And today, Sunday, we are now beginning Multiculturalism Day. This is our first of 4 events today, and we are so grateful to the work at Zonta International for sponsoring both this event and all of the Multiculturalism Day screenings taking place today. A portion of the ticket sales and past sales from today are being donated to Zonta International, and you buying a ticket has been a great support to the organization. You've just finished seeing 2 short films and an excellent feature, Gosia Tomek, and now we are here joined for a live Q&A with some of the cast and, the crew members of these films. First, from the short film Walks, we are joined here this morning by writer and director Al Moran. Hi, Al. It's good to see you.
How are you, Tyler?
Also, from Gosia Tomek, streaming and zooming into us live from Germany this morning, we are here with the writer and director of the documentary, Christine Jezior.
Hello, guten Tag.
And lastly, joining us as well, because Christine speaks German, we have our volunteer translator, Rosemary Mitter, also with us on the call this morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for doing this, Rosemary. We really appreciate your help.
You're welcome.
As always, I am also joined by OFFA Executive Director, Wendy Donnan.
Everyone.
And our favorite production manager in the booth, Tori Nixon, who is doing all of the behind-the-scenes work to make these Q&As possible. We're so grateful to Tori for her work, not just today, but she's been doing all festival long. Now, before we get started, the last thing you need to know is that this event is live. This is happening right now, and if you are watching this, having just done the film, you can ask questions to us. Here on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a chat box where you can type in questions, and if you send those into us, I'll be happy to ask them on your behalf. In the meantime, let's get started. We've just finished watching the documentary Gosia Tomek. Christine, can you tell us about Gosia and her relationship with Tomek? Do you know how they met?
Christine, was können Sie uns sagen über Gosia und Tomek? Wie haben Sie sich erkannt?
Ich kenne Gosia, kenne ich schon, wenn sie war 18 Jahre alt. Ja? Ich kenne die Familie und sie war ein freundliches junges Mädchen mit vielen Plänen von einer ganz guten Familie. Und die Eltern haben eine große Pläne für die Gosia. Das wird studieren, wird eine riesengroße Firma haben. Und Gosia hat, und ich habe sie immer beobachtet, deswegen sie war immer so wunderschön. Und dann
okay, Christine, Moment dann. Ich translate etwas und dann. Christine has known Gosia since she was about 18. So as a young woman with, dreams, plans for the future. She came from a good family who also had hopes for a good education and, hoped for good things for their daughter. So, und noch mehr, Christine?
Ja, und dann hat sie geheiratet, wie das ist, mit großer Hochzeit in Polen, fast 250 Menschen. Aber nach 3 Monaten oder 4 Monaten war diese Ehe aus. Deswegen hat sie Tomek getroffen. Die haben zusammengearbeitet und da war große Liebe.
So, she's known Gosia for many years, since a young woman, and when she married, she had a big wedding. It was a big occasion, but the marriage didn't last very long, only a matter of some months apparently, because she had met Tomek through work. And then things changed for them.
Wow. So, whose idea was it to make a documentary about Gosia and Tomek's story? Was it a mutual decision? Was it Christine's? How did the movie come to be?
Okay, so wie haben Sie zu dem Film gekommen? War es Gosias Idee oder deine Idee oder wer hat den Film?
Gosia hat ein offenes Profil auf Facebook, bei Facebook. Und ich habe das immer gelesen. Deswegen, dass sie hat ihm immer jeden Tag ein Mail geschrieben und hat sie ihm immer fotografieren und ihm gezeigt, ist Marathon mit ihm gelaufen. Und ich habe diese 5 Jahre einfach sie beobachtet und das hat mich so fasziniert. Nach 5 Jahren habe ich gesagt, ich muss da fahren, ich muss mit ihr sprechen und ich mache Film.
Okay,
Now, my
so
German is great, but I think I got the word Facebook in there.
yes, apparently Gosia had an open Facebook profile, and Christine watched that, and there were emails and little film clips because she was always taking pictures or film of herself and Tomek, and so Christine watched and read these emails for over 5 years, and then decided she had to talk to Gosia and Tomek and do something. So the film was Christine had thought something needed to be filmed about this.
How did you take 5 years of footage and put it into a 90-minute movie?
So wie haben Sie 5 Jahre und mehr Facebook und Filmclips, Video, wie haben Sie alles das so eine lange Zeit, so viel Material, wie haben Sie alles das in so 90 Minuten einen Film gemacht?
Ja, ich habe nur gelesen und geguckt Facebook, aber keinen Film gemacht. Ich habe nach 5 Jahren bin ich da gefahren und habe ich gesagt, ich mache jetzt Film. Ich habe 1 Jahr Film gedreht und ich habe benutzt diese Dokumentation, was hat sie selbst gedreht.
Aha. So what Christine did, she didn't actually film anything. She went to visit Gosia and Tomek and took the materials that Gosia had created over those 5 years. The video, the photographs, the email material. She used all that. She had a year to do that, and but used the materials that were already there, existing.
That's incredible. That's an amazing amount of work to go through all that footage and pick things out. How did you choose what to use? Like which specific ones? How did you pick which exact ones to put in the movie?
Wie haben Sie die von so viel Material, wie haben Sie die specific, die einzelne E-Mail oder Film, Video oder Photographs, wie haben Sie choose?
Benutzt.
Ja.
Benutzt. Ich habe immer versucht, was habe ich nie früher gemacht? Ich wollte unbedingt das chronologisch zeigen. Ich wollte die jüngste Mail und dann immer älteste Mail. Das war 3000. Ich musste nur entscheiden, was ist wichtig. Das war alles wichtig, aber du konntest nur 10 Mails zeigen im Film, sonst wird das langweilig. Und ich habe alles gemacht, so wie das war. Ich habe junge, alte und immer bis zum Schluss. Und genauso habe ich die Fotografie alles so benutzt.
So Christine wanted to do it chronologically. So she used from the earliest emails and photographs and so on, through to the end, but always going in chronological order and using everything is important, but she picked what seemed to be the most important events during the 5 years.
Ich habe bis zum Schluss nicht verraten, was ist passiert, warum ist er krank. Deswegen, dass ich habe gedacht, das kann alles passieren. Das kann Unfall sein, das kann Badeunfall, Autounfall. Das konnte 1000 Sachen, das war unwichtig. Dann zum Schluss habe ich gesagt, das war ein Insekt.
Yeah. So because she didn't reveal the cause of Tomek's disability until the very end, because it wasn't important. It could have been anything that caused his it could have been an accident. It could have been many things. The cause actually wasn't important. So it wasn't until the very end that she revealed that it was an insect. So
We'll come back to talk more about the insect in a little bit. But while we're now moving on to discussing the healing journeys, I'd like to ask some questions to Al about your short film Walks. Because one of the relatable things and the reason these two films were paired, your story, while fictitious, is based on a real one. I noticed at the end of your film, there's a dedication to your father. Was there a real life connection between your father's story and that of the short film you've made?
Yeah, it was my dad's story. He was a funny guy. He took information his own way, and
as many fathers do.
As many fathers do, it's a gift. And I find it really interesting, and I'm sure we'll translate for Christine later. It really is about a journey, and with his, it was very simple. He did go through his anger. He did go through his. He did go through his bargaining. He did go through his denial, and he got through his acceptance. But it was all very quiet, and his only learning of it, as far as he was concerned, was that the only acceptance is grace. Sorry, grace is the only gift. And so he thought that acceptance was pretty darn good, and he did everything on his own terms. So it was all pretty cool.
Now, you lost your father just over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What made this time, 20 years later, making the story Walks, what made the year 2020 or 2021, what made this the right time to now tell your father's story?
Well, I'd done 25 years in making TV commercials. And he was very frustrated with that choice. He just said, take the hit, get out of it. It's not, you think you're telling stories, you're not. So after 25 years, I did go back to film school and just graduated from Laurentian. And it wasn't really fair to call it a student film because I'm far from a student. I spent so much time on the other side of the camera. But certainly that was the impetus to make the film. Kind of a thank you to him, because he wanted me out advertising the whole time.
How does it feel now to see the project fully realized and to share it with audiences?
It's, I think Christine will probably share the same thought. People walk away with it two different ways. Some people think it's hopeful. Some people think it's sad. The people that have, but it really does. It's a divisive movie in that sense, because if you had an experience with a cancer or a life-altering experience, you tend to look at it as hopeful and kind and nice. And if you haven't, you tend to compartmentalize it into another category, which is it's part of life, right? Everybody sees something different based on their own experience.
Christine, I'm curious, when you watch Gosia Tomek, does it make you feel hopeful, sad, or something else?
Wenn Sie den Film anschauen, Gosia und Tomek, macht es euch froh oder traurig, oder was fühlen Sie von dem Film?
Das ist alles gemischt. Ich habe da vor Ort geweint ganz oft. Dann habe ich gesehen, dieses Elend, deswegen, dass sie macht alles selber. Sie macht alles selber. Sie hat keine Krankenschwester, sie hat keine, nichts. Und da, ich konnte das nicht sehen. Ich habe sie das alles überall geschleppt, egal wo wir sind gegangen. Und von anderer Seite, ich habe immer Angst gehabt, dass dieses Film wird traurig. Ich habe immer versucht, ihm etwas leichter machen. Deswegen, dass sie möchten leben normal, auch mit Behinderung. Und ich habe da gesehen, wie einsam sind sie deswegen. Und das sind gemischt, traurig und Begeisterung. Und ich war auch sehr müde bei diesen Drehen. Das war ganz, ganz schwierig, ganz schwierig. Deswegen, Gosia ist eine große Persönlichkeit. Sie sagt, so muss sein und Ende. Und dann musste ich das mitmachen als Regisseur.
So Christine says she's, such mixed feelings about the film. She often had to cry because watching Gosia take on all this on her own without any even nursing help, carrying Tomek everywhere, just the physical work. And sometimes, Gosia, of course, was affected. She was very sad, but she tried not to make the film as a whole so sad just because of the disability. Even with a disability, Tomek still has personality. She tried to bring that to the front in the film, that yes, Tomek is still there. So very mixed feelings. It is very, very hard for Gosia, and Christine feels for that, but like we do as well. She tried to make it hopeful, not just to show that being disabled is a very sad thing. I'm not translating that very well, I think, but that's
I think that's a good summary. We mentioned the insect earlier and how odd it is to have a disability created by a wasp sting. Christine, do you know how common or uncommon that is?
Kennen Sie, wie oft Menschen von einer Wespe gestochen sind und haben so einen extrem körperlichen
das gibt's viel, aber nicht so viel, wie wir denken. Deswegen, das ist diese allergische Reaktion. Wenn es keine Hilfe sofort, dann der Kopf arbeitet dann nicht mehr. Sie können dann nicht mehr atmen. Das ist alles. Und Tomek hat halbe Stunde gelegen und nach 40 Minuten ist Notfallwagen gekommen. Das war zu lange. Das muss man immer, er wusste nicht, dass er ist allergisch. Dann muss man immer diese Allergikum mithaben.
Yeah. So, well, wasp stings are quite common. Allergic reactions in many people, yes. But for Tomek, it was more the length of time before help arrived. Apparently, he was half an hour to 40 minutes or more before an ambulance came, before he had any sort of treatment. And that length of time is, for anyone with an allergic reaction, is an extreme length of time.
Well, I know that this is more of an anecdote than a question, but I have several relatives who have anaphylaxis. And when you have an allergic reaction, you need to have an EpiPen inside of you within the first 15 minutes.
Yes.
Otherwise, you risk death. And then once the EpiPen is inside of you, there's only 15 to 20 minutes worth of medicine, at which point in time, you need to take another dose. So to go 30 minutes to 45 minutes before any help arrives at all, it's a miracle he survived. And I can understand why that would be quite a shocking event and reaction. So one of the burning questions I think many audience members have, how is Tomek doing today? Are things better for him? Are they the same? How is his recovery going?
wie geht es Tomek heute? Hat er seine Situation sich verbessert oder ist noch ziemlich gleich?
Das verbessert sich immer, aber so 1 Zentimeter. Aber immer gibt es etwas, wo er plötzlich reagiert, macht die Augen groß oder wenn es etwas passiert, guckt so. Das verändert sich immer und Gosia hat noch nie einen Glauben verloren. Viele haben ihm aufgegeben, viele haben gesagt, er wird nichts. Er muss ihr Leben leben, sie kann sich nicht opfern, sie ist jung, sie muss Kinder haben. Und sie glaubt, das kommt ein Tag, dass er wird wach.
So Tomek improves fractionally, day by day, in very small increments, even maybe with eye movements or very small improvements over time. Gosia has not given up that he will eventually improve to the point where he will wake up, basically, where her family, friends over time, and still have given up. They think she should go on with her own life, but no, she still has not lost faith that he will improve.
That's a remarkable commitment. And I think by far the most striking part of the movie is watching that commitment. And that kind of leads me into our last question. We know that disability has the ability to be devastating for the families involved. Sometimes it is an opportunity, and there are dozens of stories, especially in film, of how disability creates new opportunity. But in this case, I think in both stories, we see the after effects and sometimes the sadness that comes after diagnosis. So the last question that we have coming in, I'd like to know from both you, Al, and you, Christine, what advice would you carry or give to somebody who is currently undergoing this process of learning about a new disability?
I can't talk right now. Sorry, I'll be right back.
No trouble. To simplify the question, and maybe Al, we'll start with you. Al, Al, what advice would you give to a family learning of a new diagnosis or disability?
Wow. I don't think there's a one-size-fits-all answer to that question, obviously. But I think and Gosia was such a wonderful example of this, was being open to the possibilities of the person going through it. And that's why, and she remained wide open eyes, and still remains, obviously, wide open ears, wide open eyes, wide open heart to the possibilities. And there's a joy in that. And I think that's why when I watched Christine's film, I thought it was a wonderful love story, because that's the way Gosia approaches life. So I think it's, when someone is going through this, I think it's as hard on everybody around them, but it's not time for advice, it's time for listening. That's all I know.
Well said. Christine, the same question to you. What advice would you give to a family learning of a new diagnosis or disability?
Was für ein Ratschlag, Nachricht würden Sie geben zu Familien, die neu die haben eine Nachricht über einen Behinderten in der Familie?
Ich habe von Gosia gelernt. Das ist nicht meine Sache. Ich habe von die gelernt, ja. Und ich habe von die gelernt, dass diese Menschen darf man nicht aufgeben. Die sollen nicht nur im Bett liegen und gucken auf Decke und gut gepflegt werden. Die müssen am Leben teilnehmen. Die mussten immer am Tisch sitzen, wenn ich Geburtstag feiere. Er muss immer zum Hochzeit gehen, obwohl er hat ab und zu sagen, ich ist nicht sauber. Wenn die alle sind toll angezogen und essen, dann gucken sie, alle gucken woanders. Und sie nehmen ihn überall. Sie gehen im Theater, sie gehen zum Konzert, sie gehen zur Feier. Sie verlässt ihn nie. Sie lässt ihn nicht zu Hause, obwohl das ist so schwer, ihm zu tragen. Und mein Rat ist, lass die Leute mitleben. Die leben noch. Die müssen nicht immer 20 Jahre da schlafen.
Christine said this doesn't really come from her. It's what she learned from Gosia. And that is that the disabled, or if there's someone in the family who's disabled, they need to partake of the life of their family. They need to be involved. They need to, Gosia takes Tomek everywhere. She takes him to concerts. She takes him to birthday parties. She involves him in her life because it's his life as well. He has to be involved. He has to live his life, not just lie in a bed and be cared for. And that she feels that disabled should not just be in a home and taken care of without being involved in their own life. They need to be doing things. They need to be not just left, shouldn't be given up on. They should be, their family needs to be inclusive, include them in the family, have them live their life as part of the family. The family members should be involved as well. It shouldn't just be, should it be a part of the family, of their own family.
I know that was a weighty question, but thank you, Al and Christine, both of you. I know we said we were done. We do have 2 questions coming in from our audience that we'll go quickly to. Both of these are coming from Teresa Lascaris. The first one asking why we waited to the end of the movie to reveal the accident. We did talk about this already. Just to summarize, to simplify the translation process. The summary is Christine reasoned that the source of the accident was less important than the care that Gosia was giving to Tomek. And so it was chosen to wait until the end to focus on the current events as opposed to what happened at the beginning. If you'd like to see the full answer, this Q&A is available for playback with your rental of the film for the next 7 days, and you can go back. But Teresa also says there was an inspirational level of strength and perseverance from Gosia. Thank you for sharing it. And she'd also like to know, was there any more help for Gosia, emotionally, financially, or physically, care-wise? Can we ask Christine?
Yeah. Für Gosia, war da noch anderes, war da andere Hilfe für Pflege oder finanziell oder irgendetwas von, wir haben hier von Government, wir haben finanzielle Hilfe und Hilfe für Pflege und sowas hier, aber hat Gosia irgendeine andere Hilfe gehabt, nicht, nur nicht von der Familie?
Sie wohnt in Polen, ja, und in Polen gibt es nicht, leider gibt es keine gute Hilfe für Behinderung. Die meisten müssen alle selbst bezahlen, selbstverständlich, das gibt es eine Pauschale, aber von das kannst du keine Rehabilitation machen 3-mal in der Woche. Das ist ganz schlecht, wenn es um Polen und Geld für Behinderung. Das ist auch bekannt. Sie ist von einer sehr gut habenden Familie, dass die Eltern von Gosia helfen, ja, und helfen auch viele Polen privat. Wenn Sie das alles lesen im Facebook, ja, und das ist Konto, dann schicken Sie Geld. Aber von Regierung oder von Ministerium, das ist fast nichts, das ist lächerlich. Da kann sie ihm eine Woche ausgeben. Ja? Und sie ist Bauingenieurin, ja, und sie arbeitet als Bauingenieurin zu Hause auch. Aber Geld wenig.
So Gosia and Tomek, they live in Poland, And from at the government level, there is very, very little to help the disabled or the families of disabled. So Gosia comes from a fairly well-to-do family. She works as a building engineer. So her family helped, but the assistance she would get from government is perhaps for physiotherapy, for instance, is perhaps Christine was saying for a week or so, not anything that would cover physio 3 times a week for many years. There's no assistance like that. So she did it on her own with help from her family.
Well, I think that only intensifies and furthers the commitment that Gosia showed on camera. That is going to do it for us this morning. I'd like to especially thank our guests, Al Moran and Christine Jezior, filmmakers, writers, directors, for joining us this morning. And a big special thank you to Rosemary Mitter. You did a wonderful job translating for us today. Thank you so much for offering your time. Thank you so much to also all of you in the audience for joining us this morning for this live Q&A of both Walks and Gosia at Tomek. But this is not the end of Multiculturalism Day. Oh no. If you would like to continue your support for both OFFA and Zonta International, there are still tickets for single events and passes for the whole day and the rest of the festival to see all of OFFA's offerings. Remember, a portion of proceeds from all single tickets and passes today do support Zonta International. So please see more of the films and support this terrific organization. In just about half an hour, we will be beginning our screening of Bangla Surf Girls, where we will have director Elizabeth DaCosta joining us afterward. Then at 4 p.m. is A Girl from Mogadishu, and tonight the double feature of Her Stories and the Names of the Flowers. We have got terrific films coming up all day today. And lastly, don't forget that Gosia at Tomek and Walks are eligible for the Audience Choice Awards. If you would like to vote for them, there is a sliding scale of 1 to 5 stars at the bottom of the screen. Just choose the title of the movie you'd like to vote for on the right, and then place your vote at the bottom. All of these will be tabulated to the Audience Choice Award that will be handed out at OFFA Awards Night on Wednesday, July 7th. On behalf of OFFA and Executive Director Wendy Donnan, our thanks again to Tori Nixon in the production booth. My name is Tyler Collins. It's been a delight to be your host this morning. Please enjoy the rest of your day and Multiculturalism Day here at the movies with OFFA 2020. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day.
Bye. Guten Tag, Christine.
Thank you.